Hi there, I'm Ethan, and this morning we're on a trout water. We're on an ex-gravel pit, we're in the Midlands, and we're going to be doing tench on the fly. We're going to be sight fishing for the tench in the clear water. And yeah, that's something I have been doing a lot recently, and it's really good fun if you can get onto some fish. So for the equipment, it's really not too difficult to get your hands on something that's good for the tench. This is a 10-foot 6 weight, and I normally opt for the 6 weight, but you can use anything from a 5 weight all the way up to an 8 weight. You really don't need to buy specific things for the tench. Of course, the matching reel and drag helps, but you don't really need it. And a floating fly line. I prefer leaders of about 18 to 20 feet, just because you're fishing very close in, and normally you're fishing for fish just off the end of the rod tip, and you want to avoid the fly line being over the fish. Tippet wise, I normally use anywhere up to from £4 all the way up to 10 if I'm really struggling for the weed. And I normally use £6 to £7, but if you're in a clear water and they're very spooky, you might want all the way down to 3 or 4. But if you're in a very snaggy area, you might want right the way up to 10. And for the tactics, it's really just a lot of walking and a lot of spotting. You really do need to cover some miles and just keep looking and looking and looking. You need to look at as many spots as you can. Just walk around your lake, look in the edges, in the weeds, everywhere. You might even want to do a few laps of the lake because the tench can move in and out very quickly. But the key is really covering water and not staying in the same area for a long time. If anything, you might want to leave an area and keep coming back rather than sit there the entire time. So when you do eventually spot a fish, you have got to be quite careful because they're very shy of the line. They're not too bothered about you standing there for some reason, but they are really bothered about the line going near the face. So when you see one, you ideally need it to be head down in the silt, really feeding away, not paying attention to what's happening. But you need to cast the heavy fly quite a long way away from the fish and do a drag and drop, the way you cast the fly away from the fish, drag the fly on the surface and let it drop in front of its face. Just keep twitching the fly carefully. What you don't want to be doing is casting your heavy flies over fish that aren't feeding, that are cruising, because they don't like flies dropping in front of the face. You ideally want really heavily feeding fish that have really got the heads down and really just sifting through all the sludge. Tench are really strong fighters most of the way around through the year. They really do try and do you in every snag they can. You've got to try and keep the heads up when you're fighting them because they just bury themselves in any rubbish they can find on the bottom. When you get close to reeds, they'll try and dive in the reeds, and all you have to do is just try and tire them out. There's nothing much you can do. You're not in a lot of control when you first hook them, especially on the fly tackle. The type of venues that are best suited to this is clear water. I mean, today I'm on a clear gravel pit and you can see down to pretty much 10-20 feet down. But you want semi-clear water where you can at least see the fish feeding or see a tail moving round. The waters, your normal coarse waters that are generally very dirty, aren't best suited for tench on the fly really, because you can't see the fish feeding. You might be able to see sludge coming up from the feeding fish, but you can't really. You need to be seeing the fly going to the bottom and the fish taking it, ideally. Yeah, as for the taits, you're not looking for really aggressive, obvious taits. You just need to be looking for the fish's reaction, maybe just the fish turning as it's feeding. A lot of the time you can't even see the fly, you just need to guess what the fish is doing, and if the fish does anything strange, just strike. Even if you're not entirely sure that the fish has taken the fly, you just need to strike. There's no real way of knowing, especially with mud and multiple fish turning the mud up and the weed up. You just need to watch the fish's reactions and strike whenever you feel like you need to. And for the flies, it's really not about the pattern or the colour. It's more about the different weights that you need to target different fish in different columns of water. So what we've been using today is just this damsel. It's got dumbbell eyes, and all that is, it's just a very natural pattern, not a lot of flash. Upturned hook, which is very important, so you're not catching the bottom all the time. That's pretty much most of my flies have got an upturned hook. Then for fish that are slightly shallower, you want something like this. It's got just a normal brass bead chain, that sort of thing, just so you're not making a big splash over fish that aren't too deep down. Then for sizes, this is about as small as I go, because you also need to be able to see the fly on the bottom as well as the fish. But sometimes when there's multiple fish and lots of mud stirred up and lots of weed turned up, sometimes something great big like that, something like a size 6, little bright section on the eyes, just sometimes what you need to be able to see the flies. But for single fish, I'd rather not throw a fly as big and bulky as this on single fish in shallow water, because it probably will spook them. Then right at the other end is just very light, unweighted damsel, no weight in it whatsoever, and that's for fish that are in sub a foot of water and that are very spooky. Normally you would fish that on really light line. So yeah, basically you go from size 6, great big bead chain eyes, all the way down to like a size 14 with no weight whatsoever. With conditions, you're really looking for more how well you can see the fish rather than how well the fish are feeding. Because the tench, they feed in a lot of conditions, and it doesn't really matter what the weather's doing for them to feed. They'll feed in heavy rain, bright sunshine, but you need the conditions to be specific so that you can see them. And those best conditions are a bit of sunshine, but mostly overcast, because there's a lot less glare on the water, so you can actually see what the fish are doing. I mean, today the conditions are horrible because there's so much glare on the water because there's bright sunshine. But on another day, when it's a bit more overcast, you can really see properly into the water and what the fish are doing. With this type of fishing, you're really not doing loads and loads of casts. You're doing more walking than you are fishing. In a day, you might only get 12 casts at a fish, but they're all at fish that you can see. And when you do get a chance to feed in fish, you just need to quickly get them flies in front of it and make it count, because you won't be getting many shots. And when that fish is spooked, if you do spook it, you wouldn't be blind casting. You just have to walk away and find another fish. Other times, when you're on a water that you don't necessarily know where the fish are, you sometimes just need to look for clues. And that could be big clear patches in the weed where they've cleared it away. It could be uprooted plants. It could be all sorts. But the best sign is stirred up mud, because then you know that tench have been there recently. So if you're walking around a venue and you see a lot of stirred up mud in an area, you know that tench have been there quite recently. We've just got a fish just rooting its head round in this grass in front of me, and I just want to get that fly as close as I can. So I'm just lowering the fly in front of the fish, trying to keep away from the perch. Just to drag and drop, just drop the fly well away from it and drag it in front of it. That looks like it's going down now, that's good. fish hasn't seen it. Ooh. You've just got to keep trying and trying and trying. Make sure there's no weed on the fly. You've just got to do as many shots as you can without scaring the fish. Just watching the fish's reactions, you can't really see the fly. Just waiting for his head to go back down again. And as soon as he starts feeding, get that fly back in front of it. Just watching what the fish is doing. Perch. I don't know whether you'll see him because of how stirred up the water is because of it. Oh, there's so many perch. It's impossible to get your fly down. Ooh, refused the fly and he's gone. On to the next one. Just make a fish out. It's stirring up so much mud that I can only just see the fish. But I just caught a glimpse of its tail flashing. Now, because this is a little bit more of a long shot, I've got to actually get the fly line out. Cast well away from the fish. Yeah. Ah, it's come nearer now. Ah, it's come close now. That's good. That's really good. That fly's a long way away. That's better. Oh, he's... Perch, go away, perch. What's the tench doing? At least the perch give me an idea of where my fly is. Oh, he's looking. Hey, there's another one behind it. I can see, I've just seen its flank flash. Oh, oh no.
Is it still there?
Yeah. There's another one as well. Oh, there he is. They're doing the weird thing now where they just sit there and not do anything. Oops, that's a bit far away. Ooh, now he's spooked.